The doorbell. Opening the front door to my parents' home, I heard the chime of our security system. Stepping out on the porch, I looked out at the long, straight road that ran across the front of our property. Our house was set back about 30 yards from the highway. Most of our neighbors had their homes right on the street. I felt a buzz on my wrist as my smartwatch lit up with some random message. I looked at the time, and it was 1:31 a.m. I was home alone, and I just couldn't sleep. My family had left for summer vacation, and I stayed behind to work. I wanted to go, but I needed the money. My fall semester payment was due at the end of the summer. Looking around, I noticed that the street lights were all off, and there wasn't any lights on the entire neighborhood. What was going on, I thought. Why was it so dark? I stepped forward and looked up, and there was no moon. In fact, I didn't see a single star. A small spark of electricity crawled up my back and over the right side of my face. I realized it wasn't just dark, it was black. No light. I looked up and down the street and saw no movement. Just go back in the house and go to bed, I told myself. Taking a deep breath, I opened the front door, heard the chime of the alarm, and closed the door behind me. It was equally dark in my house now. I flipped the light switch as I moved toward the stairs, and nothing happened. I pulled it up and down, and again, nothing. What the hell's going on, I mumbled to myself. Aw, screw it, I thought as I made my way up the stairs to my room. As I reached the top of the staircase, I heard the doorbell ring. I stood for a moment to make sure I wasn't hearing things. Then again, the doorbell rang. The spark of electricity that had crawled up my spine had turned to a frightening jolt. Who was at my front door at 1:33 in the morning? Mustering up some courage, I walked down the stairs and looked through the peephole. It seemed like someone was holding their hand over the glass. It was just black. I couldn't see anything. Should I open the door, I asked myself. I decided that my mind must have heard something that didn't happen, that maybe the doorbell didn't ring. Turning, I took a few steps back and the doorbell rang again. I felt a pressure on my chest and my stomach started to tighten. I peered through the peephole again and something pushed me back. The force slammed me onto the staircase. My body was frozen. Dude, get your shit together. I rubbed my eyes, stood up, and started to set the alarm. I almost finished putting in the alarm code when I saw a blue laser-like beam coming through the peephole. It rested right in the middle of my chest, and for some reason I put my hand down and tried to rub it off. As the beam hit my hand, it felt cold. I opened my fingers and watched as the light ran across them. The fear was gone momentarily as my mind concentrated on the beam. But then it became a little darker, and it started to burn my skin. I pulled my hands away, stepped out of the string of the light, and realized that the marks on my fingers weren't burns. They were stripes of frozen skin. I touched the skin and it simply peeled away. But there wasn't any pain. The room had a soft blue tone to it. The doorway was lit on all sides. It was as if someone was holding a flashlight in front of the door. Suddenly, the room went dark. Whatever was lighting the door was now gone. An unexpected wave of calmness floated across my mind as I sat back and took a deep breath. It took a few minutes for me to take in and process what I had just seen. None of it was real, I thought. Come on, James. This is ridiculous, I said to myself. I stood up, walked to the peephole, and looked out. My back locked, and a wave of frigid fear consumed my body. Something was in the middle of the street. It wasn't standing, it was sort of drifting. What I saw was something cloaked in a gray robe that partially covered its face and moved all the way to the ground where it seemed to become one with the street and then disappear. In its left hand it was holding an old lantern that emitted a soft blue light. In the right hand it held a large blue sickle. The blade was long and the blue light dripped off the end and fell into the robe. It was looking down the road and I couldn't stop staring. But then it slowly turned towards me and its face became clear. A desperate coldness took over my body and I was frozen to the door. My hands couldn't move, and my face felt like someone had their hand on the back of my head and was pressing it hard into the peephole. I was pinned. What I saw was a milky gray face that looked like the skin had been peeled back. The eye sockets were enlarged, and piercing blue dots lit up the cavities. Its nose was replaced with a large black hole. Long rows of teeth pushed out of the skull and started to snap up and down. It made an eerie clicking noise. Its forehead was sunken, the veins ran with translucent blue fluid. I tried to push back, and it was like I was in sleep paralysis. I couldn't move, and I had no control. A deep smile started to radiate across its face. Blue fluid dripped from its mouth. The teeth started to chatter faster and faster. The noise became unbearable. In an instant, it reared up and slammed its sickle down on the ground, and a bright blue wave pulsed out in every direction. When the wave hit the door, it blew me back onto the ground. My body was still frozen. I couldn't move. With all my energy, I started to scream. Whatever was holding me released. My heart didn't seem like it was in rhythm. It was just fluttering wildly. My mind was foggy and I couldn't concentrate. I made my way to my feet and shook my head. As my mind cleared, I heard the chime of the home alarm beep. I turned and the back door was now cracked open. I fell back on the front door as I saw a smoking white mist move around the corner of the living room. As it moved in, the whole room lit up with a soft blue light. It pulled its head up, and I was lifted away from the door and started to move towards it. I pushed back with all my might, but I was helpless. I was about 6 feet away from it, and I felt myself start to pass out. But I didn't. My heart pounded over and over. I felt like my head was going to explode. Suddenly, the blue light started to radiate to its full potential. It permeated through everything it touched. I looked down and my hands were shaking uncontrollably. My body started to lift off the ground, and in slow motion it raised the sickle and pulled it across its body. As its arm extended, I took my last breath in this world. But for some reason unknown to me, I was able to pull my head back as the blade of the sickle tore right through the side of my face. Blood ran down my jaw like water. Looking up, I saw it raise the sickle above its head and pull down again. I turned and heard a deafening thud as it missed its mark. Another blue wave of light blasted through me. I stumbled to the entryway and fell into the railing that led to the stairs. Then the blue light suddenly disappeared. It was completely black. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust. Was it gone? Had it escaped? Where was it? Was this all in my mind? A few seconds went by, and I saw the gray-blue mist wrap around the entrance. I grabbed the railing and decided to fight. I took 2 steps forward, and the sickle whipped around. It moved so quickly it looked like a solid blue sheet of ice. I felt the coldness as it tore through my neck. There was a small crackle when it hit my spine as it made its way through. I felt the warm blood gush out. My vision tilted, and I watched my body fall to the floor. I felt a deep rumble, like the sound of a freight train rattling through my mind. I looked up as it pulled the blue sickle away and smiled. Then everything went black. If someone rings your doorbell at night, don't answer.